Become a Saint with Nico, Episode 8. We're reading from the life of St. Philip Neri. In theology, he invariably followed the teaching of St. Thomas, to whom he had a special love and devotion, having the Summa almost always in his hand. He also constantly read and meditated upon the Holy Scriptures, and acquired a great readiness in applying them, of which he availed himself on occasion to the admiration and unspeakable edification of his hearers. And in all discussions he joined so much modesty to his acuteness that he quite won the listeners over to him. When young, he took pleasure in writing poetry, both Latin and Italian, and in the latter, in Italian, he acquired such facility that he could compose offhand, though, out of humility, he caused all of his writings to be burned before he died. We have, however, remaining by chance 3 sonnets of his, composed in his youth and written by his own hand. While, however, Philip attended to his studies, he did not neglect the things of the Spirit. He continually visited the hospitals, and often, after the schools were closed, he went to the portico of St. Peter's or of St. John Lateran to instruct the poor in the holy faith, and spent the night in protracted prayer. His fervor then, far from diminishing, so increased that he was unable to attend the theological lecture in the school of the Augustinian fathers because of a very devout crucifix which hung in the lecture hall. For every time he beheld it, he was unable to restrain his sighs and tears. As in Florence he had been called Good People, so in Rome he was commonly called Good Philip, a name by which Antonio Altoviti, Archbishop of Florence, used to call him, and Cesare Giacomelli, his master in theology, and many others. As we finished this chapter 4, we can see how dedicated St. Philip was to learning about God, but also to putting God's teachings into practice. I think a takeaway from today is how St. Philip was in love with the crucifix. We have to be so in love with Jesus and not just going through the motions of, okay, now we're going to pray, now we're going to feed the poor, now we're going to go teach this person about God. I think even nowadays we have the temptation to correct others, or we feel bad if we're not doing our list of things to glorify God, even if it's reading, St. Thomas Aquinas as St. Philip loved, or even if it's reading the Holy Scriptures, right? We always have to do it from a point of a true relationship with God. If you just see a crucifix and it's just, okay, Jesus is off in the distance and he's someone that we love because he's God and he's given us life. Yes, that's beautiful, but do we really let that fact that God gave us life, that God died for us, do we let that refresh us? Are we so fixed on doing what we think is good, right? Okay, I did my things today. I did my prayers. I did my readings. I learned about God. Or, okay, I'm trying to find the next best way to love God. We have to take every moment as a moment to let God refresh us. Imagine if you had a friend and you didn't actually really enjoy spending time with them. You were just like, okay, I'm going to see this friend, but you know what? I'm just going to try to, serve them, and I'm just going to try to spend some time with them, but I don't want to feel good because I just want to, suffer through it. No, we enjoy our friends, and that helps us love them even more. So when we see a crucifix, let it refresh you. Let it be like a sense of awe in God that comes over you. And let that be in all of your daily activities, reading, helping others. Because if we don't let God refresh us, I don't think it's going to be, it's going to be very unlikely that we're going to keep increasing in love. We're just going to be kind of stuck in the same, pushing. If we don't have a relationship with Jesus, if we're relying on our own strength to push through things, how are we going to be letting God act through us, right? It has to be God who's empowering us, God who is refreshing us, God who is filling us with joy, with love, with those tears that St. Philip had with the crucifix. So don't be afraid to give yourself permission to let God refresh you in all of your activities.